All right, welcome back, all you beautiful bulletproof handymen and women. We're going to talk about a controversial subject in the handyman industry today, which is standardized pricing. A lot of guys think you cannot and should not ever standardize. I personally think it's really made a huge difference in the success of my business when I started standardizing pricing. And I lost a handful of really good clients in the very beginning of this business because I didn't have standardized pricing. Now, luckily, I was a one man show and I was able to get my schedule full enough that I didn't even know what to do with all the jobs I had. But I lost multiple, probably four or five really big clients who were excited to work with me, wanted to immediately start sending me as much work as possible, but I couldn't give them any standardized pricing. And that was just one of the requirements that they had. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of standardized pricing. I'm going to take you through my standardized pricing. I'm also going to make my standardized pricing, all of my custom line items, I'm going to make available to you for free. And before this video is done, I'm also going to let you know when you can come to some of my free webinars where I'll take you step by step through the entire process of managing your job flow, including the standardized pricing. And finally, I'll also take you into my software and I'll actually show you how I build estimates with standardized pricing and how I build invoices with standardized pricing. Now, one quick note I want to make before we dive in is standardized pricing doesn't mean that you can't deviate from it. I do highly suggest on all your estimates, all your invoices, all your custom line items, you do need to have some disclaimers in place because as we both know, these jobs don't always go to plan. So we need to let the clients know that they don't always go to plan, that there are certain situations where the standardized pricing may not apply, but they're still going to appreciate the fact that you have standardized pricing. One quick tip for you guys too is I do make my personal handyman businesses custom line items and standardized pricing available to you guys for free in the description of this video. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you click on the link, it's going to take you to where you can download a CSV file with my custom line items with my own personal pricing for my handyman business. You can download that. They come straight from my Jobber account. And if you have Jobber, you'll be able to upload them directly into your Jobber account and actually start off with my personal pricing that I use in my business with my disclaimers, my descriptions, and my entire process. That's 100% free. Just go to the description of the video, scroll all the way to the bottom, click on the link to get my free business documents, and you can upload my custom line items from my handyman business's Jobber account directly into your Jobber account and start using them right away. If you don't have Jobber, there's also a link in the description of this video for you to get a free 14-day trial so you can start that trial. It's no obligation. Download my custom line items, upload them into your free trial, and start playing around with it. And if you decide Jobber's for you, you'll also get a 20% discount for the first 6 months by using my link in the description. So why should you use standardized pricing? There's really two main reasons. Number one is it builds trust over time, especially with the clients that I have, which are property managers, and I do charge them a premium for the logistics that I offer because I take all the maintenance off their plate for their entire business. But it builds trust over time when they can predict what the pricing for a lot of these basic items are going to be. And as they see that your pricing is the same over time and very standardized, they get into a position where they feel really comfortable sending you the work. And the reason they feel comfortable sending it to you is because they're not worried that they're going to get some absurdly high bill when you're all said and done, because you do use standardized pricing and they know what they can expect from you. And then another more selfish reason to use standardized pricing is because of the efficiency that it brings you when you're writing estimates and when you're invoicing. Instead of having to type every single thing out every single time, looking up how much you spent on materials, going over the job in your head, trying to remember how long it took you, and coming up with a custom price for every job. When you have some of these really simple items standardized, you're able to just click, add the quantity, and move on to the next line item. So let's talk about 6 instances where you should use standard pricing. Number one is going to be on jobs that usually take a predictable amount of time to complete, or where there's a maximum amount of time that you know you're never going to overrun in order to get completion of that job. When you can predict how much time it's going to take, it's very easy to know what to charge. These also work better when you have clients that are not wanting to be intimately involved in every detail of the job. So this is also going to be mostly business to business, such as property managers, real estate agents, or guys flipping houses. Another time that standardized pricing can be really useful is on jobs where maybe the amount of time that it takes you to do it is not super predictable, but you get such a high volume of this particular type of job that you can still come up with standardized pricing, knowing that you'll make a little less sometimes and you'll make a little more sometimes. But over the long course of time, that you can predict how much you need to charge each time you do that job in order for that average over time to still be a great rate for you and your business. And standardized pricing always works way better when you have a standard, predictable inventory for the type of job. One example might be door stoppers. There's only a few different types of them out there that you're going to need. The pricing for the materials is about the same on each of them. The amount of labor that goes into each one is also about the same. So if it's a limited, finite, predictable inventory you might need, you're able to keep that inventory on hand, save yourself a trip back to Home Depot, and be able to knock these out very consistently over time. And standardized pricing also works way better on jobs where the amount of time it's going to take you to do that job is going to be finite, where there is a worst case scenario that you've never had to go above and beyond. And if the pricing for that worst case scenario, if the fair pricing for you for that worst case scenario is still acceptable pricing for even the best case scenario, then you can just go ahead and set the pricing for the worst case scenario. And at the very least, in the end, if you want to, you can just give a slight discount on the ones that went super well. Finally, standardized pricing also works best on the types of jobs where all of the details of the job, all of the items of the job can be quickly and easily accessed and observed and evaluated before you start the job so that you don't have any hidden surprises that pop themselves up halfway through. Let's go over some examples of jobs that are great for standardized pricing. So the first one is going to be a garbage disposal. I charge $150 for these every single time. The materials are always the same and the time is capped at about 30 minutes. It really never, ever, ever takes more than 30 minutes to do one. So I can safely set a garbage disposal. Now, this is at a one off trip. So this is where I'm going to drive to the property just to do that one job of the garbage disposal. So, regardless of whether I'm able to repair the garbage disposal on site or whether I need to replace it, I'm never going to be on that job for more than 30 minutes. The pricing is only for the labor on the job. So I can set that at $150. I can let the client know that if he needs a new garbage disposal, I'll be charging additional for that. And if he doesn't, then the labor is going to stay at 150. But I've done hundreds of these. They never take more than 30 minutes, no matter how bad it is underneath that sink, unless there's extra work to do. But you're going to have disclaimers laying out that if you find other items that need to be repaired in order for your main job to be repaired, then you're going to charge additional for those extra items. Another one, like I just mentioned, is door stops. The pricing for the materials for all types of door stops is pretty much the same, and they never take even a full 5 minutes to replace. So you can guarantee that if you charge a set rate for these, you're always going to be profitable. And then you have something like vanity sink pop-up stoppers. Now, the amount of time you put into these is quite variable. However, you're going to do a lot of these. If you're a handyman, replacing pop-up stoppers or repairing pop-up stoppers in a vanity sink is just going to be part of your bread and butter. Some of them can be fixed in about 2 or 3 minutes. Some of them might take 30 or 45 minutes. However, this is a plumbing job, and being a plumbing job, you can charge a premium. And what I've found, in fact, I don't even remember what my current pricing is, but the least I've ever charged for these is about 45 bucks. The most is about 65 bucks. So if you set your pricing at $50 to $55 each, that is a fair price for a plumbing job. And if you get it done in 5 minutes, then you made $55 in 5 minutes. And if you get it done in a half hour, you still made $55 for that half hour, and you're still at $100 an hour overall. And a quick reminder when I'm talking about the standardized pricing, although there are some jobs that have a set price from beginning to end, regardless of whether they're an add on or a one off, most of these that I'm talking about, the pricing that I'm putting on them is the pricing for the add-ons. So we're assuming we're already at the property, we have a larger punch list of items to do, and we're charging a trip fee just to get to the property. And once we've gotten to the property and started working on everything, we're going to take that trip fee, which is already in place, and we're just going to add the pricing for each line item to that trip fee for the final cost of the job. So let's talk about when you shouldn't use line item pricing. One great example is going to be large drywall repairs. Number one, you don't know what's behind the wall that you're going to be working on, so there could be surprises there. Number two, you don't know what type of texture in advance you're going to be matching unless you've already made a trip to the property. And different textures require vastly different amounts of time to match. You also don't know what the environmental conditions are going to be, if it's going to be damp, if it's going to be humid, if you're going to be able to use hot mud on a larger or smaller patch, whether you're going to have to make multiple trips to the property, whether the matching paint is going to come out right, or whether you're going to have to roll that whole wall rather than just touch up the paint when you're done. So these are the types of jobs that you're going to be showing up in person and doing an estimate on rather than using standardized pricing. Another one's going to be hidden plumbing repairs. If you can't see the repair, like for example, a hose bib, you can see that. You can do standardized pricing on hose bib repair and replacements. But if somebody's got some wet drywall and a leak behind it, you just don't know what you're going to find. So you can't offer any standardized pricing for that. Same thing with caulking a tub or a shower. Until you show up and look at it, you just don't know. You may have one little gap or one little piece of mold somewhere, and you can just go along that one wall, scrape out a little bit of caulk, throw some new caulk in and out the door in 15 minutes. Or it might be a really large surround with all types of seams all over the place, caulk falling out and molded all over the place. Maybe you pull that old caulk out, and behind it is a bunch of water and mold and mildew that's been trapped there forever. You don't know how much the prep time is going to be in advance. You don't know how much caulking you're going to have to do in advance. So, on those types of jobs, you also cannot offer standardized pricing. So, how do I set my standardized prices for the jobs that I can do standardized pricing on? Well, first and foremost, a lot of this is just going to be based on the number of man hours you're going to have to put in. So I come up with the average amount of time that I know from experience it takes me to do that job. I also take into consideration the worst case scenario amount of time it's going to take me to do that job. And then I multiply whatever the man hours are times $100 an hour minimum. And then I add a premium, let's say for electrical jobs, for plumbing jobs, for getting on the roof, for working outside in the heat, or crawling under a crawl space. Depending on what the premiums are, I might add a premium to that $100 an hour for my standardized pricing. And again, this is on jobs where the amount of time that it takes to do the job is either predictable or at least has a cap on it. And as another quick reminder, unless I specify otherwise, the materials are always going to be extra. This is going to be in the estimate if I'm sending it in an estimate that the price is for labor only and that the materials will be billed on top of that at cost or just barely above cost, depending on what system you use, but that the materials will be billed additional to the standardized labor pricing. And by the way, oftentimes you can also come up with some pretty good standard pricing for the materials themselves. And now that we've gone over most of the basic talking points for standardized pricing, I want to jump straight into my software here and show you actually how I build out my estimates and my invoices using my standardized pricing. And I do want to remind you guys that you can download all of my actual standardized pricing, my custom line items that I use in my handyman business on a day-to-day basis by going to the description of this video, scrolling to the bottom, clicking that link for the free documents, and you can download my custom line items. There's also another document in there called Jobs List with Pricing that you also might find useful. Go ahead and download that one too. And last reminder, if you don't already have Jobber, you can click on a link in my description to get a free 14-day trial, test it out using my line items and using my little example that I'm about to show you. And if you do enjoy it, then you'll be able to save 20% off for the first 6 months by using my link. And if you want some help learning that software, you can also sign up for my free webinars that I do to teach people how to use Jobber. All you got to do is get to the end of this video and I'll let you know exactly when I'll be holding those webinars and tell you how to sign up for that. All right, so now we're inside my demo Jobber account where I'll show you how I'm going to build these estimates. We're going to click create and we're going to click quote. You can also change this to say estimate instead of quote if you want. We're going to pick the client. I have mine set up in advance already. You'll have to get yours set up. Pick your property. Like I said, I have mine set up already. You'll set yours up and Jobber will save them so you can just scroll and click on the one you want. When I do these, I always copy and paste the address into the job title. And then let's just follow that up with the word estimate. There we go. You can add these custom fields over here. We're not going to go into all of that though. So let's pretend we're doing a job that's vacant and it has a little punch list of items to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add, and this is in my custom line items that y'all can download. Let's say move and up pops trip fee, comma, move out. So there's the trip fee just to do the move out on this vacant property. Next, we're going to click, I like to do optional line items. You do have to have the grow plan for that, but with optional line items, you can throw in everything that they've asked you for, but then you can also throw in all the stuff that you noticed on site that they didn't notice that also needs to be fixed. So let's go down just right here at the top. How about a smoke detector? So this custom line item says labor, smoke detector, hardwired, replace or install. It's set at $10. I've actually been changing this to 12 lately, so I'm going to end up updating this to be $12 per smoke detector instead of 10. Let's say this house has 5 smoke detectors, and now we've got this line item done, and that's for the labor. Let's add another optional line item, and let's say smoke again, and up autofills materials smoke detector hardwired, $15 each. Now the price on these just went up, and I haven't changed it in my software yet, but these are closer to $30 each now for the ones that I use exclusively with my business. And we'll change that quantity to 5. Updates the pricing over here on the right for you already. Also, if you want, you can click recommend item. If you do, the total price of the estimate is going to assume that everything on that estimate has been clicked and approved. If you don't, then the estimate's just going to have that $125 for the trip fee, and then as the client approves them, it will total that up for you. So it's up to you which way you want to go. I usually don't click these. I let the client see the total adding up as they're clicking on all of the items. That way they don't get sticker shock when they see that your initial estimate is very expensive. So let's add another optional line item. How about if we do, let's type in pop, and there's labor, pop-up, repair, replace. So this is for your vanity pop-ups. And if I wanted to be really good at this, I would probably say labor, comma, vanity, comma, vanity, comma, pop-up, repair, replace. Looks like mine are currently set at $50, which was about where I thought it was going to be. Let's say we've got 2 of them. So now we've got $100 in labor there. Let's add another optional line item. We're going to say pop again. And then we're going to scroll down to the materials section. Materials, tub drain. Here we go, bathtub. Materials pop-up drain kit. There we go. So I've called this a kit. I've set the price at $25. Sometimes you don't need any materials. Sometimes you are going to need $30 or even $40 worth of materials, but I found that setting this at $26 means that most of the time I'm going to spend less on materials than what I've charged for materials. And as it averages out over time, even if every now and then one of them ends up needing a whole new drain, I'm still making a really great profit on this over time. We'll change that to 2 as well. It's going to total everything up for us, just like I said. Now, if you see right here, this is what I was talking about. This currently says 125. Let's come and click real quick and say recommend item on each of these. Now you come down here and it's 487. So let's add another optional line item. Let's do some door stoppers. Let's type in door. Okay. Labor, door stop, install, $8. Maybe there was 7 of them in this house. And then same thing, add optional line item, door stop. Here we go. Materials, doorstop, $5 each. None of them cost more than $5 each, so I'm just charging the maximum amount on every single one of them. We'll go ahead and call that 7. And now we've got a completed estimate. If we want, we can click recommend item on each of these. It's totaled it up to $578. We've got our trip fee. I always scroll back at the top before I'm done with this and make sure that I got all my quantities correct. I got 5 and 5. I've got 2 and 2. I've got 7 and 7. And then finally, we can come all the way down here to the bottom and say save quote. And this is done now. So what we've done is we've set this up in such a way where instead of typing all of this out every single time, we've created the standardization. So instead of this being a 30-minute estimate, this was a 3 or 4 minute estimate, maybe 5 at the most. You can just create it, click it, and send it right over, and you save yourself that time. And if you're trying to charge $100 an hour for your time and you're busy 24/7 trying to maximize your revenue in your business, then having these standardized pricing and having these line items makes you fast so that if you're writing an estimate, say two a day, then those two estimates a day you wrote that took you 10 minutes instead of 1 hour, you basically saved yourself $100 every day that that happens. And if you have, let's say, 6 days out of the month that you're sitting down writing estimates and saving that hour every single one of those days, you've now saved $600 a month, or you've given yourself more time that you can use to do other things in your business or to spend with your family. So now that I showed you how to create that estimate, I'm just going to tell you creating the invoices is the same way. You're just going to click that create button, click on invoice. The same type of form is going to pop up. You're going to scroll down and click on the same line items, put the quantities in. Nothing about that's going to change. So all you need to know for estimates is just that you click create and click invoice. But what I want to show you now is how to create your actual line items. So we're going to come over here to the right-hand side of the screen, and we're going to click on this gearbox for settings. And then we're going to click on settings. And then we're going to come over here to the left, and right under business management, there's a line called products and services. So go ahead and click on that. Once you're in your products and services, as you can see, by the way, these are the ones you can download from me. So if you download my custom line items, this is actually my custom line items right here. These are the ones you'll be downloading. I have them all set with labor first, and they all start with the word labor, comma. And then after you finish all the labor, hold on, let's get back up to the top here. And then I've got all my materials line items. So these are the ones you can download and start using. Don't use my pricing right off the bat. Compare it to your local products and services, your local economy. You're going to need to adjust the pricing to fit your business, but this is a really good starting point for you. But anyways, come up to the top, and to create your own new products and services, your own new standardized pricing, custom line items, just click on add item here. And the way I do this is you have to choose service or product. So for me, service is everything that I'm charging labor for. Product is everything that I'm charging for materials for. So let's create a service, and then we're going to pick the service we want to create. And the service we're going to create for this one, let's do a porch light. I don't think I have a porch light in here yet. So we're going to start off with the word labor, comma, porch light, comma. And then what are we doing to the porch light? We could be repairing, we could be troubleshooting. For this, it's going to be replace. So labor, comma, porch light, comma, replace. The description, and we're just going to type in there. You can type in whatever description you want, but I would type something like remove and replace one exterior porch light with like kind porch light purchased locally. And then I would probably put some sort of disclaimer in here as well to say that this pricing only applies if the existing porch light does have power and ground and only needs for the porch light itself to be replaced. I wouldn't use exactly that wording. You can come up with your own, but you do want to put those disclaimers that let your client know that there will be additional charges. Let's say if you pull that porch light off and find that there's actually no power going to it, but the line item itself is for the replacement of the porch light, not for troubleshooting. Troubleshooting would be additional. But anyways, you're going to put your description in this box for whatever it is you want the client to know about what the pricing applies to, what work is going to be done, and what disclaimers you have. And then if you do have job costing, I don't know if that's the Grow and the Connect plan or just the Grow plan, but if you do have job costing, you can put in the cost. So maybe you're going to pay somebody else to do this, and you're going to pay them $60 every single time. If you wanted to, you could say that the cost is going to be $60, and you're always going to mark up their labor. Let's call it 30%. So now this is automatically going to let you know that that's going to be $78. Or if you're going to be doing the work, you're not going to subcontract it out. You can assign a cost to yourself if you want, or you can just leave these blank and you can just set a price. And maybe you want to set that price at $80 per unit. Now, something else you can do with these is you can upload an image. So if you have, for example, I have standardized faucets that go on all of my rentals. Yes, there are exceptions. When there is an exception, I charge differently. But when there's not an exception, which is 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to put the exact same faucet in every single rental. So I can upload an image of that faucet here, and then the client can see exactly what faucet is going in. Or Alternatively, you could upload an image of the dripping faucet or the broken faucet or the broken whatever it is that you're working on. So for this one, it'd be a porch light. Let's say they didn't ask you to give an estimate for the porch light. You've decided to add a porch light to the estimate because when you showed up at the property, you saw that the screen door had been banging into this porch light and had broken a piece of glass out of it. So now what you're doing is you're uploading an image to this one to show them on the estimate, not in your standardized products and services, but the same thing applies to the estimates where you can upload an image of the broken porch light. I'm not going to upload any here. I just want you to know that's available. And if you're charging taxes for the work you do, depending on what state you're in, you can click exempt from tax if you have taxes set up in Jobber. I personally don't put any of the taxes on my estimates or invoices. I just wrap that up into the total price to make it more simple for my clients. And finally, when you create these, you can create them with online booking. I'm going to do a whole other video on that. I can't dive into it, but Jobber does have features where you can set up online booking so that people can see the blanks in your schedule and book you on the spot for that time so you keep your schedule full. But like I said, we're not going to mess with that now. I'll do a video on online booking later. And then finally, create. It's probably going to give me, okay, it didn't give me an error. I thought it might give me an error because I didn't actually type the description in. So now you've made that new custom line item that is now in your Jobber account. This one is now in my Jobber account without a description. But like I said, this is my demo account. And do we want to create another one? Yeah, let's create, go ahead and create a product. It's going to be the same process. So now we're going to have a product and it's going to say materials, comma, porch light, like kind. Like kind is a word you're going to hear a lot in the property management industry, which I think is where most of the profit is, unless you're extremely experienced and all your clients are wealthy. But we're going to say like kind porch light because we need to let them know that we're going to put something up that's just like the old one or that's similar enough to the old one that everything is going to maintain the same feel. And then under description, we're going to basically spell that out and say one new like kind porch light. And you may want to create one of these for if you have a censored one that comes on automatically from dusk to dawn and that has a motion sensor. Maybe you'll have a $120 porch light that they can click from, or you'll have the cheaper one that doesn't have the motion sensor and stuff to click from. And then if you did do that, you would put a comma behind here and say non-motion censored. So for a non-motion censored like kind porch light, then you can come down here and you can type out that description. If you have a general cost, or maybe you're going to get an inventory and you're going to order like 10 of these in advance, they all cost you, let's say $45, and you want to do a 30% markup on them. Now that brings the price up to $58.50. Again, this isn't my pricing. I'm just showing you how the software works. Again, you can upload the image or not, exempt it from tax if you have taxes set up in your Jobber account, and you can add that to online booking. We're not going to mess with any of that. Click create. So now the next time we go do a porch light, if we've got this all set up in our software, we don't have to type all of this out. All we've got to do next time is just click on it, add the quantity, and move on to the next line item. So I'll bring y'all back over to me now. There we go. So let's do a quick recap here. Standardized pricing is for jobs that are highly predictable, that have predictable inventory, that you do frequently, that the amount of time that you spend on these jobs averages out pretty routinely over time. It's also really great for clients who are going to be sending you a lot of work, which is going to be business to business clients like property managers and realtors. You don't want to try to do standardized pricing with jobs that have way too much variability. And one last reminder, you can download my standardized pricing in the description of this video all the way at the bottom. Just click on that link. You can download my standardized pricing, upload it to your Jobber account, and actually use my pricing, or at least get your business started with the pricing that I'm giving you and the descriptions that I'm giving you. And if you don't have Jobber, there's also a link in the description so you can get a free trial of Jobber and play around with my pricing, play around with the invoices and the estimates and stuff. And if you would like help, I will be doing some free webinars on this. I try to do them pretty frequently. So at this point, I'm going to be doing them every other Sunday afternoon. So the next one's going to be on August 18th. And if you want all the details for that, just shoot me an email at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com with the word webinar in the subject line. And if you send me that email with the word webinar in the subject line, I'll reply back with a link to that class. I'll also eventually get this set up on a very routine basis where I can have a calendar for you to click on, but I don't have all that yet. Just know that it's going to be every other Sunday, starting with the next one being August 18th, 2024. Shoot me an email, bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com, or comment in this video if you get that email address wrong or you're not sure if it showed up to me. And let me know by putting the word webinar in the subject line, and I'll get you the link to that webinar 100% free. Please do show up with Jobber already downloaded and ready so that you can follow along and we don't have to wait too long. But I keep these minimized down to about 5 to 10 people per webinar. So I do have enough time for each of you to come in there and ask me all the specific questions that you need to ask. And I'll give you additional help. For example, if you need help setting up your branding inside Jobber or figuring out other features, once we get through the main purpose, which is creating jobs, creating custom line items, creating estimates, and creating invoices. When we get through that, you'll be able to ask me whatever other questions you have for how to use the Jobber software. So with all that being said, I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.